Hey all, welcome back to my channel. My name's Kate if you're new. Happy to have you here. Today's video is going to be my TBR for the Trans Rights Readathon of 2026. Trans Rights Readathon is a readathon that's been going on for 4 years now, but this is the first year that I am actually going to be actively participating in it. I am filming this on March 16th, which means that it begins tomorrow. It runs from March 17th through Trans Day of Remembrance, which is March 31st. There is a Storygraph challenge that you can join. I will put some information down below that also includes 9 optional reading prompts or challenges within the overall structure. So I am probably not going to hit all 9 of those prompts. What I decided to do as kind of a personal challenge to myself was instead focus on getting books that I already had on my shelves. So this is kind of a no-buy Trans Rights Readathon challenge for me. So the criteria to count for the Trans Rights Readathon is it has to either be by a trans or non-binary author or have a trans or non-binary main character. And so they do have a big Google chart of a lot of different options. I did notice a couple gaps, which I did actually email them about. Like there's a whole author that is not on there that is non-binary that I think should probably be on there. But scrolling through that list did help me a lot. It reminded me of some series that I'd read but hadn't finished, as well as just informed me about some authors that were non-binary that I didn't know about. It is a 2-week-long readathon. At the moment, I am averaging about 2 to 3 books a month, so I will not be getting through nearly as many books as are on this TBR. But all of my TBRs are aspirational, and I give myself way more options than I'm ever going to get to because I am very much a mood reader. I can kind of pick what is most interesting me in the moment. So the first of these is a standalone. It is Summer Suns by Lee Mandello. Lee Mandello is a trans author, and I believe this book has some trans characters in it as well. But I do know that it is about like 2 best friends, Andrew and Eddie, and then it's told from the perspective of Andrew because Eddie has suddenly committed suicide, or at least that's what people are claiming. This book has always, to me, felt like it belongs in the kind of cusp between summer and spooky season. This is very much a like sticky, hot summer gothic kind of a story, and this has been on, I believe I had this on a list of books I wanted to read for spooky season that I still haven't gotten to. And so reading this one in March kind of feels like the wrong time of year, but this is very much marketed towards like Raven Cycle fans, which I'm also kind of in the middle of a reread of. So anyway, it feels appropriate. This one would fit the optional prompts as the trans masc and trans man representation. Lee Mandello is trans masc. They're kind of like asterisk extra challenge on top of that was to read a book by a BIPOC author, which I believe Lee Mandello is white. So he wouldn't count for that, but he would fit with the trans masc, trans man representation. So again, we'll see what I get to. The next book that is on my potential list that was one I already had was The Unbroken by C.L. Clarke. C.L. Clarke is non-binary, I believe uses both she, they pronouns. I don't know if there are trans or non-binary characters in the book. It doesn't appear to be immediately based on the description on the back, but that could be misleading. So this is a fantasy series that is supposedly kind of vaguely based off of the history of French colonial rule of North Africa. It is about a soldier who was stolen as a child, forced into the empire's armies, and is now being petitioned by the niece of the king to kind of be part of like a turncoat army because she's trying to get her uncle off of the throne. That is what I know about it. I know that it is queer and that the author is trans. And one of the reasons that I haven't read this yet is because it was an unfinished series, but the 3rd book did recently come out either this year or last year. So that is a mark in its favor now, that if I start this and get really into it, I can just finish it. The next book on my potential TBR is She Who Became the Sun by Shelley Parker Chan. The 3rd prompt is non-binary, agender, genderqueer, or other gender expansive representation. Shelley Parker Chan is non-binary, uses they, them pronouns, and also the main character in this is, as far as I can tell, kind of trans. At least she is a woman who disguises herself as a man in order to become the emperor. Now, I don't know exactly how this person identifies, so I am currently using she, her pronouns, but if I get into the book and discover that that doesn't really fit, obviously I will change what I'm talking about. This is a finished duology. It is She Who Became the Sun and then He Who Drowned the World. It is supposed to be a kind of historical fantasy retelling of the Ming Dynasty's founding emperor. I don't know a ton of Chinese history, so my Chinese diaspora friends in my group chat would probably tell me a lot more if I asked, especially because some of them are big history nerds, but that is what I know about this one. The author is non-binary, the character seems kind of trans or gender expansive, and it is a historical fantasy about ancient China. Very much in my bag. Also, since it is a duology, kind of fits in with my year-long project of reading a bunch of duologies. So this would probably fit with the third prompt of like non-binary, agender, genderqueer, other gender expansive representation, but it would also fit with the fourth one, which is intersectional trans rep outside of your experience. I am obviously not Chinese, so this would fit that. Also, The Unbroken by C.L. Clarke. As C.L. Clarke is a Black author, so that would also count for number 4 of intersectional. So the fifth prompt is Two-Spirit, Indigiqueer, and Indigenous Gender Expansive Representation. This is one that I've had on my shelf for a bit. It is Black Sun by Rebecca Roanhorse. Now, Rebecca Roanhorse herself, as far as I know, just uses she, her pronouns. You know, as far as I know, does not identify as Two-Spirit or non-binary, although I could be wrong. Please let me know if I am. However, I am guessing that Black Sun itself, like the characters in it, are very gender fuckery. This has been sitting in my gay space section for a while, and now that the series is finally finished, and I've also collected the full series, Unbroken and She Who Became the Sun, I just own book 1. This one I do own all 3, so this one I could just power through and finish potentially in the 2 weeks. I know this series is popular, but I'm gonna be honest, almost nobody talks about what the premise is, and I read the like inside little flap. It didn't really give me much information. I just know it's gay space. It's Rebecca Roanhorse, who I have loved since Trail of Lightning, even though she seems to have completely abandoned that series. I do want to get into this one. That is kind of my start. That was my kind of first comb through of my shelves. I did do a second comb through in case either I finish all of those series, highly unlikely, or I just maybe start one and it's just not hitting and I need some other options. So I pulled some more. These are kind of second tier, not in the sense that I am not interested in them, but just in the sense that they're less prioritized. The first one is Anger is a Gift by Mark Oshiro. Mark is a non-binary author. Mark Oshiro was the one that I noticed was not in the master list, and so I did email them about that. We'll see if they update that. But anyway, I have been friends with Mark Oshiro for quite some time now. I'm never going to be able to be completely unbiased about their books. They did become a little bit more well-known for Each of Us a Desert, which I read and was on my favorites a few years ago. And then also they've done now a couple joint books with Rick Riordan for the Will and Nico books. Anger is a Gift is their first full-length novel and very much about police brutality against Black and brown people. This is set in Oakland, which I believe Mark lived in for a while. I lived in and around that area for a long time. And while all of their other books, I believe, have some kind of mystical realism or fantasy element, this one is just straight young adult contemporary. This was released in 2018. It's been sitting on my shelf since then. It has a lovely note and signature from when I got it signed. I don't even remember, at one of their signings a while ago. I forget now. Most of the reason that I haven't read this yet is because there's no magic. But that's not a great reason, so I'm going to try to get this done. Another in the young adult realm is Gwen and Art Are Not in Love by Lex Croucher. I picked this one up at Half Price Books, you can tell, but this was a book of the month or Owl Crate or something. This was some kind of special edition. What was it? Rainbow Crate, that's what it was. Okay, so this was some kind of Rainbow Crate special edition thing, but it has like a double cover. I don't quite know why it has 2 covers. So the special edition cover also has this like nutrition facts page that I find quite cute, where it's like 50% sapphic, 50% Achillean. So yeah, anyway, I found this at a Half Price Books for pretty cheap and just had to get it. I've read a couple other of Lex Croucher's books. I started a vlog that never got finished that was like YouTube made me buy it kind of a thing, where I was buying books that various influencers had written and I was seeing which ones of them were worth my time. That ended up not happening, but the upshot of it was that Lex Croucher was one of the only people that was actually worth my time. Let's just put it that way. Maybe that video will get finished someday, but I did have the buzz cut at the time, so I would look very different if I tried to upload that now. Okay, so those were the couple YA ones, and then I have 2 more that I pulled off of my wife's bookshelf. So again, going through that master list, I was like, wait a second, I've seen that on her shelf. So the first one is Genderqueer, a graphic memoir by Maya Kobabe. As far as I know, this is pretty much what it says on the cover. Maya uses AM air pronouns, and so I believe it is about air process, figuring out air identity. And then the final book on my list, just in case I run out of things to read, is going to be Hijab Butch Blues by Lamia H. Again, this author is queer, non-binary, uses she, they pronouns. This is a personal memoir about the author discovering their own identity and kind of using the teachings of the Quran in their own way to kind of find their peace in their own identity. And I believe that this would also count for some of the prompts. So there is a book featuring trans joy, love, and or resistance. I believe that this would count under that love and resistance category. The final one is a book recommended by a friend, bookseller, or librarian. I've gotten The Unbroken, I think, was actually given to me by a friend, where she shoved it into my hands and said, here, take my copy. I have an extra, go read it. So I'm going to count that one. Then the final prompt that I don't think I have anything right now is a book about trans youth and or imagining trans futures. So I suppose having a young adult counts. So I suppose Gwen and Art Are Not in Love might count for this one. That's kind of my best shot at hitting all the categories. Now, that is my entire tentative TBR, but let's be real, I'm not going to get to all of those. I'm not even going to get to most of them. What is actually most likely going to happen is that I will read book one of my series and then just get stuck in that and read that for the entire 2 weeks. So it is most likely going to either be The Unbroken by C.L. Clarke and books 2 and 3, which I don't currently own, but probably will soon. Or it'll be She Who Became the Sun, He Who Drowned the World by Shelley Parker Chen. Again, I do not own book 2, but probably will soon. Or it'll be Black Sun, Fevered Star, Mirrored Heaven by Rebecca Roanhorse, because I do actually own all 3 of these. This one, I don't want to say it's at the top of the list, because the second I say that, I won't read it. But this one is the most likely to be finished over the next couple weeks. Let's say that. So that is going to be it for this video. I am undecided if I'm going to do some kind of either reading vlog or wrap up after all of this is done. So let me know if you have opinions on which kind of video I do about these. Also, let me know if you're going to be participating in the Trans Rights Readathon. What are you going to be reading? Otherwise, feel free to say hi in the comments, and I will see you guys very soon with another video. Thanks for watching, guys. Bye.